It is once again time for Husker Chat, brought to you by Newcomb Diesel of Kearney. I'm Jayson Jorgensen. We're once again joined by Sean Callahan, the publisher of HuskerOnline. Well, Sean, here we are, final week of the regular season. Certainly last Saturday, another disappointing one for the Huskers at home against Minnesota. For whatever reason this year, Nebraska, for the most part, other than the Penn State game, was not a great team this year at home.
Yeah, 7-point loss, but it just felt worse than that. Obviously, Minnesota could have scored one more time, so really a 14-point loss when you look at the final numbers. But just the way that they fell apart there, I mean, Nebraska had so much promise in the second quarter. Their first possession of the third quarter, they got all the way down in the red zone, missed the field goal, and then from that point on, they only had 4 more possessions the rest of the game. And, I thought the stat that really jumped out to me, and I asked Coach Frost this after the game, they went 0 of 8 on their final third down plays. Now, one of them was a penalty on Ethan Piper, so that ended that third down conversion. But they went the final 31 minutes of real-time football without converting on a third down play. And you're just not going to win any football games, Jayson, especially when you're not a home run offense, and Nebraska is not a home run offense.
How about the issues with the offense? I think that has been a surprise for some folks. Yes, we knew there was some youth on this offense, but I mean, this is what Scott Frost was brought in for. One of his trademarks was his offenses that he had at Oregon and Central Florida, and to this point, it's not clicked for Nebraska. Certainly didn't this year.
Yeah, the book is really out on how to defend Nebraska. Right now, Minnesota, according to Pro Football Focus, did not blitz one time on 27 dropbacks on pass plays. Nebraska, really didn't have anybody coming at them, but teams drop everybody back, 7 or 8 guys in the lower short passing areas. They take away the underneath stuff, and if they give you something, it's just going to go for 3 or 4 yards. Nebraska was 0 of 4 on throws of 20 yards or longer, and that's been their problem. They have not been a good deep throwing team all year. I mean, that's been an issue from week 1, and I don't know why that is. Is it the receivers? Is it the quarterback? Is it both? And then their early down run plays, Jayson, have been so inconsistent. They'll get a good one here and there, but there's just so many no gain or 1 or 2 yard type plays, and their offense really has trouble finding that identity, especially if they struggle on that early down play.
Now, whereas the offense has had some struggles, the defense, you can make the point, has been a little bit better. They've at least shown some progress this year, and I guess that has been one positive.
Yeah, and I hate to be an armchair quarterback, but honestly, Jayson, they won the toss. I would have deferred if I was Nebraska. I would have put my defense on the field first. They're playing better than the offense. And my thought on Saturday was put Minnesota's offense out there first, put them into the wind, knowing they hadn't played a football game since November 20th. They're going to probably have a pretty hard time on that opening drive doing much. So then you'd hand the ball right back to your offense, hopefully, maybe with a better field position to start the game, kind of like what they did at Purdue when they won. So instead, Nebraska won the ball, and that 9-yard loss, that is such a big play within the game because the field position differences that makes long-term on the opening portion of that game. But I do think the defense played well. They just tired out. I mean, you go back to my third down stat, Jayson. When your offense goes 0 of 8 on their final third down plays, that's putting your defense out there pretty quickly. And I think Nebraska's defense held up, but by the end, they ran out of gas.
Today on Husker Chat with Sean Callahan, brought to you by Newcomb Diesel of Kearney, where, taking a look back at Nebraska's struggles against Minnesota, one more game, at least here in the regular season, 2-5 Nebraska at 3-5 Rutgers. You have to be impressed with what Greg Schiano has done in his first year there. They're much improved. You go up and down that roster, you look at their statistics, he's done a nice job.
Yeah, Greg Schiano, there's a lot of guys that have done a good coaching job. Tom Allen at Indiana is going to probably be the coach of the year, and rightfully so. I think Kirk Ferentz has done an outstanding job navigating the 0-2 start and then all the trouble they've had to finish 7-2. But this is right up there. Rutgers winning 3 games. Nobody had that. And, they beat Michigan State. They've beaten Maryland. They almost beat Michigan. They beat Purdue on the road. So they're doing stuff we haven't seen Rutgers do since they've joined the Big Ten. And it just tells you what a good coach can do it for a program. I mean, he's really ignited confidence. He's got a good offensive coordinator in Sean Gleason. They run a lot of trick plays and gadgets. So they do a lot of things to give you problems. And, I think their players there have obviously bought in.
How do you feel the Huskers match up in this one with them?
Rutgers got beat up pretty good. I was listening to Greg Schiano this week against Maryland. He said, as a coach, he's never been on the field more for injuries than he was last week. So I do think they are getting Rutgers at a time where they're fairly beat up. On the flip side, Nebraska is going to be without Brennan Hymus. They're going to start a true freshman at left tackle and a redshirt freshman at right tackle, and Turner Corcoran and Bryce Benhart. So they're going to be young on the O-line. Think about it, Jason. 3 freshmen, 1 sophomore, and 1 senior starting on the O-line on Friday or for this week's game. And so there's a lot there, but it's a game Nebraska's favored by about 4 or 5 points. I think they can win. The problem is it's so hard to figure out Nebraska is they've been favored twice this year out of 7 games. They've lost 2 of those games. Their wins against Penn State and Purdue, they were underdogs and they won. So it's so hard to read Nebraska right now because when you think they should win, they lose. And when you think they're probably going to lose, they win. And that's just been this season in a nutshell.
Going forward, as we look into the offseason, if Nebraska doesn't play another game or go to a bowl, what's the top thing out there for you when Scott Frost looks at this program that he has to address this offseason?
Why is the offense broken? Why are they at this point? Is it running back receiver recruiting? Is it development? Why have the quarterbacks regressed? What are the issues with this offense, and why is it at where it's at? Because if Scott Frost doesn't have offense, he's not going to have success here. He was brought here for his offense, and that's been the hardest thing to figure out.
All right. We'll see what happens this week with Nebraska at Rutgers. Sean, as always, thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Jason.
And that was Sean Callahan, the publisher of HuskerOnline, joining us once again for Newcomb Diesel's Husker Chat. Glad to have you along. I'm Jayson Jorgensen.